Dear WS ladies, my dear women of substance of India and globe, a warm welcome to you and your family, who are the wind behind the wings to make you happen. It is time to recognize your great work with a huge applause. As the founder of WS Global, my name is Runa Mitra, and I would like to recognize the great contribution and efforts of WS mobilizers Lipi Sajdev, Anjali Khanna, Samvedna, Sujata, Arpita Koila, and Shefali Sinha, who ensures we come forward and organize the events for you. We had a successful event on 6 June, the Web Cafe, and today we are launching our web learning series. With that, I would like to hand over to our session chair who leads the events for WS, Miss Anjali, and also welcome with bottom of my heart our eminent speakers who had agreed to spare valuable time and enlighten us with their knowledge in this space. Over to you, Anjali.
Thank you so much, Runa. It's always a pleasure to hold such programs, and I really enjoy doing these sessions with you. So WS actually stands for Women Helping Women Through Professional Network, though we have all been more than friends to each other. I have, actually my memory goes back to about 4 years when we did our first learning session somewhere around this time. Uh, and here we are 4 years later, and we are launching into web series. We did Web Cafe last week, which was actually a replica of Cafe and Coffee and More, which we have been doing. So we at WS learn from each other through our challenges and victories. We support each other through our personal network, though we, I'll say again, we are best of personal friends to each other more than professional friends. And we have been doing it through Cafe and More, which has now been taken over by Web Cafe, and learning sessions, which are now being done by Web Learning Series launching today. So, women and finance, the moment I say this, everybody normally, I would say, quote unquote, normally, the feeling is that women and finance do not go hand in hand. At least I have always been very challenged when it comes to finance. So I have lived that stereotype. But then I have over here four women who are here to prove that all these stereotypes and myths are all wrong. These four women have made themselves exceptionally successful in the field of finance. They are today leading the financial sector in their various domains that they are working for. So, and I'm very happy that they have agreed to come as panelists today. So, let me introduce all four of them one by one to all of you here. Gurmeet Kaur has about 27 years of experience and has been a part of 6 successful startups till now. She established and managed consumer risk vertical in consumer finance companies like City Financial, Fullerton, Capital First, Bajaj Finance Limited, etc. And then she worked for Home Credit India. She started her career as a part of a domestic airline startup, which was Modi Luft, as cabin crew, and then grew up to train the people on grooming, service, and emergency services. She has been the ombudsperson in the risk advisor to the board of directors and chairperson of the internal committee which handles the cases of sexual harassment. She is a member of International Ombudsman Association based in US and is an active member of AP-RAC Ombuds body. She's also one of the trustees in Sardar Hari Singh Charitable Trust, which works towards child education and women empowerment. Apart from her functional expertise in consumer risk management and corporate governance, she is globally certified trainer both by Citigroup and Home Credit Group to deliver functional and leadership training. My God, she's done so many good things, so good. She has been imparting training in the areas of risk management, consumer experience, leadership development for last 15 years, and in the area of business etiquette, communication, and personal presence since last 8 years, and financial literacy and POSH too. So she has the expertise in customized content development and delivery of training in some five major verticals, which are core consumer risk management, financial literacy, business etiquette, prevention of sexual harassment in workplace, and personality development for women. My God, speaking this, I got tired, Gurmeet. Welcome, welcome. It's so, so sweet to have you on board. Latika Tandon is our next person here. Latika is a strategist in business and consumer solutions, executive coach, research, and academia with over 25 years of multifunctional experiences across banking, management consulting, and market research. She works specifically with SMEs to develop business strategy and research based business consumer solutions. She also coaches the leaders in the organization to continue and to grow better. She is a partner with social sector and BFSI clients in co-creating business solutions around livelihood, skill development, and financial inclusion. Her previous roles include lead practice, BFSI, advisor strategy and operations in Deloitte, director Kairos Management Consulting, lead banking IPG, AC Nielsen, TNS Mode, Money Market, and American Bank. These are just a few of what she has done. So our third great speaker is Komalini. Komalini Roy is a financial and life coach. She's an alumnus of University of Cambridge with 20 years of professional experience, working with corporates such as Grindlays, Standard Chartered, IDFC, to name a few. She's also been an entrepreneur and currently coaches people on business in financial sector. So great to have Komalini and Latika having both of you here. Great. And I would now, last but not the least, about the moderator of the day today. So Sonal Agarwal Bali is the chartered accountant with almost 20 years of experience. She has held strategic finance and leadership positions in various established companies like Pepsi, Fujifilm, Hellonix, and successful Indian and international startups like Oyo Rooms, Hotspot, etc. She also wears the hat of an entrepreneur and a mentor now. And as a co-founder of Diligent Consulting, she holds financial consultant or a virtual CFO's position for various companies. She works closely with Israeli startup ecosystem by picking up unique technologies and innovations and find suitable partners in India for adoption of or merger and acquisition. Her passion for social impact has given her an opportunity to project manage a large CSR budget on a leading American bank. She also sits on the board of several listed companies as an independent women director. So all four of these speakers are moderator. Superb guys. You guys are really, really strong in financial sector, and I'm sure the session is going to be a great, great event. So I will not take even a single moment now, and I will hand over to Sonal. Sonal, please take charge. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Runa and Anjali, for that warm welcome. That's a powerful pack of knowledgeable and subject matter experts, I would say. I can see a Nari Shakti over here. So kudos to all of you ladies. Hello, ladies. Welcome to WOS Web Learning Session powered by Tech2Go. I hope all of you are staying safe and taking good care of yourselves and your family during these trying times. And I'm sure together we will come out stronger than ever before. I thank the WS mobilizers for taking this initiative and having us here to talk about the financial woes that all of us might be facing. We'll be glad if we'll be able to make a small impact through our experience and knowledge. Debashish, can I have that slide, please? I will explain through that picture. Today, I want to focus on providing some tips to the aspiring women entrepreneurs who want to start or have already started their ventures. I also wear the hat of a woman entrepreneur. And I know that a woman who are a lot of chances that you've faced a lot of challenges to even decide to start your own venture. If you can see this picture, the men are saying that what's the matter? It's the distance is the same, but you can see the lot of challenges in this picture in a woman's journey. It can be an entrepreneurial journey or it can be any other journey. So they face a lot of challenges to decide to start their own venture, And soon after starting, they face a bigger challenge, which is funding. Just to give you a small statistics, in India, as much as 92% of the businesses which are owned by women, they are funded or financed through their own sources of money, like savings, CASI capital, loans, etc. And they face bigger challenges in raising fund than their male counterpart. This is largely due to the conservative attitude towards women entrepreneurs. But yeah, as a ray of hope, and in recent times, financing scenario for the women, is undergoing a radical change. A mix of government initiatives and changed outlook of the private sector lenders like banks, angel investors, VCs. There are a lot of funding opportunities which are available to an aspiring businesswoman. My first recommendation will always be to use your own money, which we called as bootstrapping. Use your own money to, you use your own money or savings to seed, ideate, or expand your business. Then you can approach the family and friends, which we called as a FNF round. Tap your friends and families to invest in your venture. You can use their money to scale up. Then you can go to the NBFCs. These NBFCs are the new age lenders. They provide collateral-free, easy business loan for up to 30 lakhs. Then comes the crowdfunding, which is also called as social media funding. It's a new concept, a relatively new concept, and given the surge in social media, it is becoming very, very popular. And it is very popular for raising money for great, unique, and socially powerful business concepts. You can pitch your idea to a huge audience on such online platforms. Just to name a few for your understanding, Keto, Kickstarter, Lending Club, GoFundMe, or etc. are some of these platforms. If the potential looks great and you have a robust business model, then you'll be amazed with the results. Last but not the least, use the government schemes. The government today is focusing a lot on women empowerment, and it's leaving no stones unturned to make them financially independent. The central and the state governments both are launching certain various schemes and facilities for financing the women-led ventures. Stand Up India, Startup India, Fund of Funds, Niti Aayog. These are some of the forums or the bodies who have launched various schemes to boost women entrepreneurial spirit. Now the big question. So when do you raise your first tranche of money? Personally, I would say never, unless you're really and badly requiring it. I believe a paying customer is your best investor. So try and create a robust customer base for your idea or your venture. But yes, sometimes one has to raise money for various ancillary activities, like even acquiring a customer requires funds. So that's the time, and your business plan will tell you when you have to raise the funds. So that's the time, go out to these channels and raise your first tranche of funding. One important point that I would urge the aspiring minds to build in their business plan is resilience. So, even you should have that quality of resilience in yourself. And the experts today saying going forward, resilience will be the key quality for a leader or an organization. It's an ability to bounce back from the adversities or hardships. And today you can see the entire, the country and the entire globe is facing a big hardship. So how do you get out of that? So if you're already prepared, then it makes your life much, much easier. So I want to emphasize that important to build the aspect of what if in your business model. So what if the venture doesn't kick off? What if you don't get funding? What if times like these, the act of God or a pandemic happens? So just be strong, sensible, keep learning, and be on the path of success. Happy to help. If anyone has any questions, please do reach out to me through WOS. With these 2 cents, I now will ask my other co-speakers to provide insights into their personal financial aspects. So I invite Kamalini to enlighten us how to deal with the personal financial planning. So over to you, Kamalini.
Thank you very much, Sonal. It will be my endeavor in my session to demystify financial planning and make it a little simpler to empower everyone watching for a better understanding of financial planning. So let me start with the first question. What is financial planning? It is a step-by-step scientific approach to achieve life's financial goals. You make note of your current situation, the monetary situation, and then you strategize how to reach your financial goals. Now, each of these financial goals may be connected to various life goals. Financial goals could be short term, money that you would need probably within a year. It could be medium term or long term, like retirement. Now, different women play different roles as an income earner in the family. There are some women who are complete bread earners of the family. Others are equal financial partners. Some are supplementary financial partners. A lot of women, I would say, earn for their own luxury spends. I did that when I first started earning because the rest of the basic needs were being taken care of by my father. You could be earning for two families. I'm aware of a lot of women who are even supplementing for their parents' families or their parents. You may be sending money to them. Some women have played all these roles in different stages of their lives. Now, each of these types of women earners will have very different sets of goals, as well as financial goals, ranging from funds for higher education to wealth creation and many others. Now, I come to my second question. Why is financial planning important? And I have a lot of people asking me that. You can do a lot with financial planning. Firstly, you can increase your savings with proper planning. You can balance your expenses based on your income. So your inflow versus your outflow. Manage your money in the best possible way. You can manage unnecessary expenses, probably cut down on them. You can prepare for exigencies and emergencies, just like Sonal spoke about in business. And emotionally, the most important thing, it gives you a peace of mind and removes your mind's clutter like planning does for anything, doesn't it? There are different ways to achieve financial goals. Now, just like there are different transportations to reach a destination depending on the distance you are traveling, similarly, so with financial planning. You can't take a plane to the neighborhood park, and chances are you won't walk or cycle to another country. You'll fly. Similarly, there are different vehicles of financial instruments to achieve different goals, whether they are mutual funds, insurance products, tax saving products, hybrid products, credit risk products, multi-cap products, portfolio management products, private equity. Now, why did I use all these financial jargons? Just to bring to light that if you're not in the financial services, chances are you wouldn't have followed many words that I used here. And that is where we come to the next step. Do we know how to do our own financial planning? If you are part of the financial system, if you empower yourself and learn, you can do it yourself. But if you can't, and if you do belong to another industry, then it's best to get in a professional financial planner. And I'll draw a quick analogy. Most of us obsess about losing weight, and we know what to do with it, right? You eat less, you eat healthy, and you exercise a little bit. Very easy. But how is it that we don't lose weight? The chances are if we go to a dietitian or a nutritionist, they will ensure we lose weight by doing it scientifically, by holding our hand and ensuring that the diet is in line with what is required. So that is what a financial planner would do for you. But what is more important than deciding on a financial planner is to decide on who your financial planner will be. The person or organization has to be someone you trust, just like you will only go to a doctor who you trust to ensure that your welfare is more important than the sales the doctor would make in the hospital through various scans. Second, in times like this, it's very important for the financial planner to have a good technology platform. Third, ideally, you would want a person who you can talk to and not a telecaller. Now, some women may want to go a step further. They want to understand how to handle their own finances. They want to educate themselves. They want to evolve themselves in the whole process and ultimately gain financial freedom. That is what we all want, right? That is the time when you need a financial coach. Financial coaching is an education process which is done between the individual and the coach as a collaborative process that would empower a woman to try and achieve financial freedom. A financial coach gets it done for you by working with you to achieve accelerated ways of building wealth using effective tools. I will stop there and very happy to take questions and help anybody in their journey to manage their own financials independently. Take it in your own hands, ladies. Don't let your brothers, fathers, husbands, anybody else do it for you. You can do it. Just educate yourself a little bit. Take it in your own hands. Thanks.
Oh, that was so wonderful, Kamalini. You know, being a chartered accountant, I myself sometimes feel very difficult to take these decisions, you know, and I have a wealth manager who takes care of all these things. So, yeah, I think a beautiful insight as to how we can manage our own finances. Now, next we have a very interesting, profile coming in. Latika. Latika will speak about the other very, very risky aspect of our life, which is insurance products. So, Latika, over to you, please.
Thank you, Sonal. Thank you. I will also take this opportunity to say thank you to my powerhouse of friends at Women of Substance to give this opportunity to connect with you all. So, Sonal very ominously announced, it's something that we all probably are scared of, but I think it's something that we all need to look out for. So what is insurance? Insurance is protection against the unforeseen. It's protection from financial loss, and it's something that we all need to bag in our financial portfolios. There are four kinds of insurance covers that we all should have. They include life insurance, health insurance, long-term disability insurance, and auto insurance if you have an automobile. Home insurance is also making imminent sense given especially the today's uncertain times. Delhi is being rocked by earthquakes, I don't know, a multiple number of times in the last couple of weeks. So home insurance is very much on the horizon that we need to evaluate. But today, instead of getting into details of each of what of this insurance stands for, I'm going to take a quick run through to explain to you or share with you some of the ground rules that I have practiced as a financial planner for my own self, and I would want to share with all of you. Before I get into the specifics of insurance alone, I'm going to share some ground rules which are applicable for all types of investments, all types of insurance. The first mantra that I'd like to share with you is do not invest in a product that you do not understand. Most people, Kamalini mentioned, Sonal mentioned, but most people have mind blocks when it comes to financial investments. We are more likely to know more about our 25,000 rupee mobile phone and less about the 25 lakh insurance policy that we have probably bought. I urge you to fully understand what policies you're buying into and what purpose they serve. The second most important mantra, which is an overarching generic mantra, which I'd like to leave you with, is please factor in inflation while calculating your insurance cover amount and the returns. Inflation affects everybody, and we all understand its impact on the household budget. A 1 crore rupee insurance cover seems sufficient right now, but this will change when you factor in inflation. A 6% inflation will reduce the purchase of 1 crore to a 40 lakh in just 15 years. Now, some golden rules for life insurance per se. Sonal, would you like me to come back onto this, or would you like me to continue?
I think okay. Let's give Gurmeet a chance.
Sure.
She also deals into a very interesting aspect, and then probably we can have a little bit of question and answers to understand more deep insights into your products. So Gurmeet, she has another very interesting aspect about financials, personal financial planning to talk about. So over to you, Gurmeet.
Yeah, thank you, Sonal, for a warm welcome. Good day to all of you. It is my pleasure to present to you today few of my learnings around debt management which comes from my stint with consumer finance companies spanning over now 2 decades. Loans and credit cards, as you all know, have become an integral part of our life now, be it education, buying a new phone, buying a car, owning a home, or expanding our business. We end up taking loans. We also know that when we are able to manage the debt well, which means that we are able to pay loans on time. We only borrow what we need to borrow. It is like a stepping stone. It enables us to improve our life. It also helps us accomplish the goals that we have set for ourselves. However, there are times when we are not able to manage this debt well. Yeah, we end up borrowing more than we can repay. We do not plan for this particular repayment. We do not set it as a priority. And then it can become a stumbling block. It also adds to stress. It hinders our progress. It also kinds of pulls us back rather than pushing us forward. Now, if we want this debt to be a friend rather than a lifelong foe, then this session is for all of you. There are many different ways of managing debt wisely. And today we are just going to be focusing on the role of credit bureaus in debt management. Can I have the next slide up, please? Thank you. As my dear colleagues have already touched on two very integral pillars of money management. One is about managing the money wisely, setting priorities, know where your money is going, and also be prepared for the unforeseen. Similarly, debt management happens to be one of the key pillars in effective money management. We'll move to the next slide, please. So, as you all know, and you would have also seen on internet, and when you had gone to borrow, people end up talking about bureaus. So just to quickly introduce, there are 4 key bureaus in the country. We have got CIBIL TransUnion, that happens to be our oldest bureau. We have CRIF, Experian, and Equifax. They are the credit bureaus for India. We move on to the next slide, please. Now, it's important for all of us to understand what role do the bureaus play in debt management. So credit bureau is technically known as a credit information company. As the name suggests, they collect and store information from banks and financial institutions of an individual's loan and credit card payment history. Basis this complete collected, collated information, they produce a credit information report, which is also known as a credit report, a CIR report. A number of people you'll hear talking about a CIBIL report. Now, this report gives the detail of an individual's all loans, all credit cards, and all the loans that he's inquired for, as reported by the banks and the loan companies from where they have taken that particular loan or a credit card. Now, basis this detailed information, which is contained in a CIR, a credit score is generated, which is then used by the lenders in the loan evaluation process, which means that if you have a good score, there's a high chance that your loan application would be approved or otherwise. We move to the next slide, please. Now, in order for you to understand that your loan, your credit card performance is going to be visible and available to all the lenders. And how is that possible? Now, this happens because as per the RBI, our Reserve Bank of India guidelines, all banks and loan companies have to submit loan and credit card related information with all the 4 bureaus. So all the 4 bureaus have the same information on your loans and the performance. And apart from that, each and every loan company or a bank, before they grant a loan to any individual or a company, has to do an external bureau check with at least 1 credit bureau in order to make a sound decision. We go to the next slide, please. Now, coming back to the role that a credit bureau plays, we spoke about a credit information report. Let's quickly understand what is contained in a credit report. It has some of it has important information that helps lender decide whether another loan should be given to an individual or to a company. Will the individual pay on that loan? Can he pay on that loan? So what's that information? So your credit report typically tells you how many loans or credit cards do you have, how many of these loans are secured with a commodity like an auto loan or a home loan, or it's an unsecured loan. Are you paying regularly on time towards your EMI and credit cards? What is the total amount of loan that you have availed till date? And how much of that loan amount you have already repaid back? Also, how frequently are you inquiring for a loan time and again? Apart from that, it has your KYC information and the last 4 addresses that you had given to the loan companies at the time of availing a loan. So your CIR report is like your financial report card. It has the details on how have you performed over a period of time on all loans. We go to the next slide, please. Now, basis this entire information, we also said that credit bureaus produce a credit score. And let me just explain it briefly through the CIBIL TransUnion score. So score is a 3-digit numeric summary of an individual's credit history. It is within a range of 300 to 900. 300 indicates a low score. It indicates it is very likely that the individual will default on his payments. 900 is considered a very high score. It also indicates it's extremely likely that the individual will always pay on all his loans on time. So when you will look at your credit report, if you have taken loans, you would see a score. So typically banks and loan companies look at your score, and a score over 700 is considered as a good score, and it increases your chances of getting a loan provided other loan criteria are also met. We move to the next slide, please. Now, quickly, so what factors goes in calculating your score? And this is something that you all have to keep in mind when you borrow money and when you start your repayment, what influences. So your past performance, are you paying on your loans on time? What kinds of credit have you taken? Have you taken more unsecured loans, which is like cash loans and credit cards, or do you have a nice mix of unsecured and secured? For how long have you been performing on the loan? The longer your loan repayment history, the better it is there for your score. Then how many loans are you running? What is the total loan amount that you've taken? Are you coming across as somebody who's really leveraged because of the total outstanding amount? Then how frequently are you inquiring for a loan? Are you coming across as somebody who's really credit hungry? So these are some of the factors that influence your credit score. So I request all of you to please pay attention to these things. Performance is important. The type of loans is important. Taking too many loans too soon also will impact your score. We go to the next slide, please. So in a nutshell, I would just like to conclude by saying that the bureaus help loan companies and banks to reduce their losses because they are able to look at the past repayment history of a customer and decide whether to make a loan or not. It also plays an important role in educating and helping customers build a healthy credit record. And how does that happen? You can avail your credit report. All of you should know that one credit report per year is free from each of the bureaus. So you should actually take that credit report and look at how your loans are, how are you performing on your loans. You may be surprised. You may end up seeing that your score is really low, and it could be of no mistake of yours. You could have paid on time, but that performance does not reflect on your credit report. One of the loans that you see, you've never taken that loan. So there's a possibility that your documents have been misused or there's a wrong linkage. So you can get back to your bank and you can request them to correct this particular information and get your score rocking again. So ladies, please understand credit score is your financial collateral. It is used not only in getting you another loan, it is also used by many companies to give you employment. It is also used by telecom and by insurance companies to give you a better deal on premium or on the postpaid limit. So be a responsible borrower, take charge. All the best. Runa, over to you.
Thank you for a wonderful session. It was really amazing. So it's time I
Thank
request
you.
our fellow traveler and great contributor to WS Initiative, Samvedna, who will share her views to conclude the session today. Samvedna, over to you.
Runa, in the meantime, can I ask a couple of general questions from the panel members? Because certain things came to my mind when they were speaking up, and it'll be great for the audience also to understand, those little important things. So one
Definitely.
very important.
Sorry to interrupt. I think there are a lot of questions I can see which has come up, and I think some of
Okay.
them you have picked up. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have a great opportunity to answer them right away, and rest of the
Correct.
questions I think our speakers can, share online. But
Yeah.
thanks to you for this opportunity to also ask questions. So,
Yeah.
Samvedna, let's stay put.
Yeah.
Sure,
Okay.
yes.
So, Gurmeet, while you were speaking about how the CIBIL score is being affected by so many loans that a person is taking. So, during these times, we are talking about COVID-19, and the government has decided about giving moratorium. So, all the banks are coming up with moratorium. So, do you think taking moratorium also affects the scores?
Uh, all right. As per the RBI guidelines, this particular moratorium is for a very unprecedented pandemic.
Okay.
And they have also instructed the bureaus that this should not impact the score. So yes, at this point of time, this moratorium is not going to be impacting this score. But this is not equal to saying that just because it doesn't impact the score, the lenders would be very comfortable giving another loan just after the moratorium period is over.
That was my
Once
second
the moratorium,
question.
okay,
Good. Carry on.
yeah. So the lenders are going to be slightly wary because they will also be now seeing that after 6 months of availing this moratorium, how comfortably are you able to pay your repayments on time now? So they may also want to monitor you for another 3 months to 6 months before they are convinced that the business is rocking or your job is intact and that you can again, pay on your installments. So one of my
Yeah.
recommendations to all the customers is also that if you have money, if you have jobs, even if there is a salary cut, uh, go ahead and pay your loan installments because it will also be expensive. Because this is not a free moratorium, you will also have to pay interest for the number of months you get a moratorium.
Great. I think that answers a lot of questions. I think a lot of people would be asking these questions. As you rightly mentioned, that during this time, a lot of salary cuts, etc., is happening. So let me come to Kamalini and ask a very simple question as to during these pandemic, all these crisis time, how can one manage their personal finances? So what are your two key mantras to all the ladies out here to manage their personal finances during this time when they are not getting, some people are losing their jobs, some people are not getting paid. So what would your suggestion be like?
Thank you, Sonal, for the question. Uh, right question for the right times, and I get asked this question so often by my clients. I did notice throughout the session, each and every one of my co-panelists actually referred to exigencies. You did, Latika did, Gurmeet did. And that is exactly what financial planning includes. While you are planning for wealth creation, every financial planner keeps a certain amount of money aside for emergencies. None of us could have imagined a situation like this would arise where businessmen would go out of business, entrepreneurs would see a crash in their revenues, people would lose their jobs. But if financial planning was already done, the financial planner's responsibility normally is to keep 6 months of money liquid for exigencies. Things that we can't imagine is you don't always lose a job for pandemic. It could also be that you aren't able to keep your job because of ill health, for stress. A lot of people take breaks. Financial planning does that. It includes that 6 months of exigency liquid money that you can turn to during times when you don't have a source of income. So thank you, Sonal. Very, very good question.
Yeah, it was from one of our audience here. So I think it gets answered, very well from Kamalini. Okay, so Latika, I have a question for you. I think somebody just wrote that what are the types of insurances that one should look into their portfolio? So if you can just guide, with a couple of very high level insurance products that should always be part of your portfolio.
Yeah, sure, Sonal. That's a very relevant question. So, like I said earlier, was that we most definitely need a life insurance. We most definitely need a health insurance, automobile insurance if you own one. A disability insurance is very important because you don't know when you're going to be up against an exigency where you can't work, can't earn. So for your lifetime, you need that. And home insurance is another fifth category which is up and coming and for good reason. So these five you must definitely have.
And what are some ground rules? Somebody just asked what are the ground rules of buying an insurance? Because what happens generally, I think it has been everybody's experience that insurance is missold. So a lot of these insurance agents just do the mis-selling. So what are your takeaways from that mis-selling of the product?
Sure. So now that's extremely, extremely important for all of us to keep in mind. So very quickly, let me run you through some mantras which we need to keep in mind when we are buying an insurance. So first off, remember life insurance is not an investment tool. It is for protection. It is not meant to multiply the money. And in given that as a consideration, I think a term plan is a good plan to go with. Uh, Typically, in terms of amounts, look at least 10 times your annual income to cover for when you buy insurance. Compare policy options from different companies and look for something called the claim settlement ratio. That's an important one, and the higher the claim settlement ratio of a company is, the better placed you are. Uh, Mention everything very honestly and clearly on your application, because remember, insurance is actually a contract made in good faith, and any kind of an error can actually cost you your insurance policy not being honored. Uh, Last but definitely not the least, don't leave tax planning and buying insurance for the last month of the year, which is usually March, when we go headlong into buying products which are not the best price, which are not the best suited. So do your planning through the year. And if I may just take 2 more minutes to quickly walk you through what a health insurance watch outs for you should be. A, please go out and buy a health insurance. Typically, it should take care of your medical inflation as well and give you cashless coverage. Look the, at something like, don't, not waiting too long. Buy it now, because the older you get, the likelihood of you getting turned down is higher. There are waiting periods involved, which means you will not probably, when you need it, and if you're in the waiting period, you will not be able to get the insurance cover. Buy a comprehensive policy. Check the hospital network that you are getting. Check for sublimits. Check for what the for price that you're being charged. And I think overall, if you're actually putting all these mantras into place, all my final message to you is empower yourself to make the investments, the right ones for you, the right way. All the very best.
Yeah, thank you, Latika. I think that was a great insight. As you all know that, insurance is a missold product. Same way, I think all of us know that mutual funds are subject to market risks. So, Kamalini, is it true?
Yeah, most people I come across say that, aren't mutual funds risky? Standard question to me.
Yeah.
Risk is something which is perceived from a very personal point of view. And let me shock you, ladies. For me, the safest investment is equity investment. And most financial planners you go to will say the same. Equity investment, very, very safe. What do you have to do to make it safe? Invest in good quality mutual funds with good quality stocks, with a good fund manager, and stay put for 10 years. Don't do anything else. You are risk free. So just to say that more seriously, mutual funds can be risky if you're not aligning your goals and your time horizon to the time horizon and the goals of the mutual fund product that you're choosing. For example, you may think investing in the fixed deposit of a company is safe, but if the company's credit quality is low and it is unable to repay back your principal, it is a risky investment. Whereas if I go to stocks and if you buy the stock of A quality company, if I may just say the name because everybody out here knows the name, HDFC Bank, I will give it to my grandchildren, as inheritance. I'll buy it, keep it, and give it to my grandchildren as inheritance. That for me is a risk-free investment. So investing in mutual funds is risky if you're buying the wrong product which is not suited for you. Important for you to empower yourself with that knowledge of knowing where you're investing. Thank you for the question, Sonal.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so a lot of questions coming up, but I think we've got a heads up that the time is up. So thank you, lovely ladies, for the insights. I think, and I'm sure that all the audience would have had a really great session, great learning. And with this, I thank all of you. And I ask Samvedana to do the conclusion session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sonal. Thank you so much. I would like to thank all the lovely speakers today, and that includes Sonal as well, who was the speaker and the moderator also for today. The session was really informative, to be honest. I mean, I have made such an exhaustive list of my learning points. I don't know. I cannot share all of them, but yes, I would like to share a few of the pointers with all the audience here, just as a takeaway for us. From Sonal's, wonderful session, yes, we learned about funding, especially very important for a startup. I myself ran a startup about a year back, and I was really confused about what is crowdfunding, which is also known as social media funding. So a very easier term to remember, and how we can take benefits of the government schemes which have come up now for when it comes to funding. Now, what I really loved about the session is what if plan. The resilience that we have to build in the business these days. In a pandemic like what is going on right now, or any adversity which comes in, we should have a what if plan in hand. It is very handy to have one. And Kamolini, your session on importance of financial planning, and it was really informative and lovely. The points that I really would like to stress upon, why financial planning is important, how it will help us in the long run, the short term, long term goals, and of course how we should empower ourselves to educate us, to be educated about the financial planning, the different jargons that we use in finance. I'm not sure of half of what you just said, the jargons that you use really. So yes, need a lot of knowledge on that part, and how we can use financial coaches to enhance our knowledge about the stuff. Latika, great about insurance. Most of us, we take insurance really lightly. It's like, okay, we'll get one day. Let's see, we'll see it one day. But yes, it is very important. Health insurance, life insurance are very important. The 2 cents that I picked up from your session would be, how we should assess our needs before buying a product, and something in capital. Do not ever buy anything you don't understand. Really, you should not buy anything you don't understand. So get into it, get in the deep, and understand what it is, and then buy for yourself. Assess your needs. You should also look at the inflation to see how much cover you need for your family, or for whatever insurance products that you're buying. Last but not the least, Gurmeet, I mean, debt management is one of the most important part of finance, or financial planning, as we say it. The how we should do the debt management, what roles bureaus play while in your credit score history, how we can build a good credit score for us, what are the influencers, like your past performance, credit type and duration. If you have taken a loan, what was the duration of it, leverage, and other factors which actually build your score, and how it helps us to get better in terms of finance. So these were the few pointers that I picked up from today's session. It was lovely. The questions audience has put there, I'm sure there are going to be a lot of more questions which are going to come your way, but as we have a paucity of time today, I think the session it was a very informative session for all of us. Back to you, Runa.
Thank you. So it's time to say goodbye to the audience, and a big round of applause to our lovely ladies who spoke with authority in such a strong subject. I think it's very important that we recognize the topic which we have dealt with and the kind of learning you have given us. Thank you. So let's say all of us goodbye. So if each one of you want to say goodbye one by one, and then I will request WS ladies who are present today at backstage to come forward on stage and say their bit of goodbye. So Sonal, if you would like to say some goodbye words, or
I think
Gurmeet?
it was a wonderful session. I really loved it, and I'm sure our audiences would have picked up much more takeaways from today's session as we've all had. So goodbye, and thank you so much, Runa and WS members, for giving us this opportunity.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you, Gurmeet. Gurmeet, any parting words?
Thank you. I think I was a little nervous at the beginning, my first live streaming, but then you made it extremely comfortable. And thank you to the team and loads of insight. And we're connecting. These are positive connects, and we will.
Thank you,
rock.
Gurmeet.
Thank you, Runa.
Thank you so much, Kamalini.
Thank you all.
Kamalini,
The sessions of my co-panelists, and I think I'll feel happy if our audience just took away any 2 key takeaways from all the sessions. That would be our contribution as panelists to women who are trying to empower themselves with knowledge towards financial planning. Otherwise, please reach out to WOS. They will connect you to us for anything further that you want to know. We are here for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kamalini. Well done. And it's time to say bye, Latika.
Thank you, Runa. Thank you, the entire WS team. And here's wishing you all health, safety, and financial independence. Cheers to you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you. So request Anjali and Sujata to join us. Sujata, so I hope, Sujata, you're on mute. So let's say goodbye together. Yes, Sujata.
Yeah, we had a very enriching session, and I think I revived all my financial concepts and a lot of new concepts which I had not studied when I was studying finance in college. So I think it was very enriching.
You are
Thanks
a
so much.
gold medalist yourself. So I'm sure your refresher was good. So let's we are missing Lippy, we are missing Arpita, we are missing Shefali. But I think on their behalf, together, we say goodbye as WS, and we are promising that we'll bring in more and more such learning session for you to enjoy and ask loads of questions on Facebook, YouTube. We are streaming there. Please go ahead and ask questions. Bye from me.
Thank you. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Stay safe. Bye. Bye.